Hey guys and girls, and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at the Analogue Mega SG. So strap yourselves in, this one's going to be a long one. Back in 2009 I reviewed the AT Games Mega Drive twin pad player. It wasn't a very good machine and I scored it 5 out of 5. Mainly in the hope that perhaps over the next few years they may improve the system and it would be the ultimate Mega Drive clone. Here we are in 2019 and that hasn't quite become the case. Physically the AT Games Mega Drives look good, but as far as output is concerned the video might look okay, but apparently the sound is still a bit of an issue, and you'd think after a decade they'd work this out, but apparently not. So how does the Analogue Mega SG compare? Let's have a look inside and find out. Right, so here is the box. As you guys can see, it is a rather plain box, save for this one sticker right here, and that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about the SG. So let's just have a quick look at that. You can see that it's 1080p HDMI with FPGA unparalleled compatibility, and of course the context, you got the SG obviously, master system converter, HDMI cable, USB cable and worldwide power supply. And if we look on the side of the box here, you can see the variant I've got is the Japan variant. Once we look at the back of the box, it's alright, we'll just clean that up a little bit. It's pretty plain, save for the barcode. Now the box itself is actually a really nice feel. It's got a kind of velvety feel to it, and you can't see it on the camera, but it does have a little, I don't want to say engraving, but there is a marking on the box which actually does have the Analogue logo on it. So let's take a look inside. We'll just lift the box up like that. It's a very nice box, and you are immediately presented with the SG itself. As I already mentioned you guys, I got the Japan variant, so that means I've got the blue reset button and the red power button. And the machine itself is rather nice. It's quite small, but it is quite heavy, and it's got some really nice it's got a really nice feel to the plastic. It doesn't feel cheap at all, and it's got some good weight to it. So, but from what I know, from what I've learned from the Super NT, Analogue's previous machine, they've actually put some weight down here on the bottom, so it actually feels like a proper premium machine. So yeah, we've got the controller ports there, the standard Mega Drive controller ports. You've got the headphone socket right there. You can say there's no physical volume switch on the front. As you can see, we've got ourselves here a nice SD card reader. That is quite important for firmware updates, which I will go into a little bit later on. And at the back you've got the micro USB socket and the HDMI out, and on this side it does kind of look like nothing if you look too quickly, but there's actually a flap here with a little connector there, and this goes into the side of the Mega CD. So we're going to be looking at that a little bit later. So we'll just put the Analogue to one side there, or should I say the SG, not the Analogue. What else have we got? We've got ourselves a very nice and very basic manual here. You can see it's all rather simple. We've got ourselves the welcome to Analogue message there, and instructions and what have you. And so we've got Analogue, create and explore the history of video games with the respect it deserves. Can't fault that logic really. And the next thing you get, let me just get it out, is this Mega CD spacer. This is quite helpful actually, because when you plug the SG into the Mega CD, there is a considerable amount of space in between, so the connector is almost in danger of snapping off, or at least being bent in a way that it really shouldn't be. So yeah, you just plug this, or you don't plug it, you place it underneath the SG, and everything will be safe. Alright, what else do we get? We've got ourselves standard HDMI cable. Got ourselves a nice, just lift that out. Can't get it blinking thing out. It's quite tightly packed in there, so you know, we've got ourselves a nice USB cable. That's what you're going to need to power it. We've got ourselves here a 2-pin power adapter here, so that's where the USB cable goes. This will go into a UK transformer. If you plug it into that and then plug the transformer into the wall, so that will power the NT fine. But I found that the not the NT, the SG, excuse me. But I've found that the SG will be pretty much powered by most USB sockets. You know, you can power it with the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3, your PC, even the PlayStation 2 can power the Mega SG. Although the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3 both need to be switched on in order to power the SG, whereas the PlayStation 4, you can just keep that in standby mode and have the power running to the USB sockets. So, you know, you've got all these options for power, you know. Also, if you live in the United States or Japan, excuse me, North America or Japan, then you can just plug this straight into the wall and you should be able to go from there. At least I think you can plug this into the wall. Yeah, you should be able to. And lastly, we have here a rather nice and very clear analog Master System cartridge converter, or rather just a simple pass-through device, because that's all the original Master System converter was for. So there we are, guys. That's everything you get in the box, pretty much everything you need to play the Analogue Mega SG. So that's everything you can expect to find inside the box, but how does the SG physically compare to the SEGA Mega Drive? Well, let's find out. Oh, where'd this come from? Right, now as you can see, straight off, it is physically smaller than the Mega Drive. I'd like to think, you know, 20 plus years of technology will actually do that. And as you can see, just from looking, there's multiple references to the design of the Mega Drive. I mean, right off the bat, you've got the little circle here, and the little circle there. This is really cool, actually, because you normally have the writing on the circle on the original Mega Drive. If you look just down here on, well, that'd be the right-hand side, wouldn't it? It's got, like, nice little writing, very small writing on the side, which actually demonstrates the SG's capabilities. Yeah, FPGA, NTSC PAL, and all this other lovely gloriousness. We've got, what's that, 48 kilohertz 16-bit audio, and of course the resolutions, it outputs it all in 1080, 720 or 480p, which is really cool. And of course you've got the power button colours here, which on this Mega Drive pretty much matches up. Well, obviously you've got to have that with that. So that's obviously the power button. Of course, you've got the power switch here, and as I mentioned before, no volume slider on the SG, but that's perfectly fine. And obviously you've got the headphones as well. If we quickly turn it round this way, we'll just compare the sockets, rather the connectors. These are really difficult to get open. So there we go. That's the SGs, and this is the Mega Drives. Both equally as difficult to get open, and that's one thing I'm not wholly disappointed with this, but it would have been cool if this also came with a cover connector, or rather a connector cover I should say. So there we go, just pop that off there, and there we go, you've got it in all its nice nice glory. And of course we look at the back. Obviously this Mega Drive is modified, so if we just discount these for the purposes of this comparison, obviously you've got the AV out there, which outputs only to I think it's 240p on the original Mega Drive, and of course you've got the HDMI on the SG. Right, now one thing I will have to stress, when you get your SG, the first thing you're going to want to do is to update the firmware, because it's very likely that this will have version, I think it was 2.1 when I received this, and I was doing a bit of testing with it, and there was some notable features missing, one of which was Master System compatibility. So we'll just slide that in there. You could plug that in there, but it would not boot up the Master System games, which is kind of a shame really, because I was actually expecting this to be naturally backwards compatible with the Master System right out of the box, but no, you need to update this to the current firmware, which at the time of recording is version 4.2. I say it's unfortunate because the Mega Drive itself was naturally backwards compatible with the Master System. All you needed was the Master System power base converter. It just simply acted as a pass-through device, and this does the same. Unfortunately, this will not plug into the Mega Drive, or at least not without taking the top off, or perhaps, you know, filing down the sides, but I'm not going to do that because it's not worth the risk. That's why I have the original Master System converters. That's for this machine, and this can be for this machine. Although, on a side note, the original Master System power base converter will work on the SG, but because of its sheer size, you're going to have a hell of a lot of trouble getting to the power buttons and the reset buttons. So, for the sake of convenience and comfort, I would recommend you use Analogue's own Master System converter. Now, since the recording of this video began, Analogue have actually released another firmware update for the SG, which brings it up to version 4.4. So for the purposes of this video, that is what we'll be looking at. So you've got your SG all set up, you press the power button, and you're graced with this lovely intro. So as you can see, we've got the main menu here. You've got the 4 options: run cartridge, play Ultracore, settings and tools. We're just going to have a quick look in tools, cheat codes and controller test. Cheat codes enables you to enter up to 6 game Genie codes, and controller test, as you can see, it makes sure that your controller works. As you can see, I'm using the 6 button pad. So what we need to do now is just go back to the main menu, and we're going to have a quick look at settings. Right. So you can see we've got 5 options here: video, audio, system, about, and save and clear settings. We're just going to have a quick look in about. As you can see, this is version 4.4, April 15th, 2019. And of course, we've got this special thanks here for everybody. Well, I suppose most people that contributed to the SG. Right, so we're going to have a quick look in videos, but before we do that, we're just going to get a game in the background because we're going to need that for a better visualization. Right, now that we've got a background established, let's have a quick look in video. As you can see, we've got resolution, screen size, scalars, scan lines, and advanced mode. Resolution, as you guys can imagine, allows you to change from 480p all the way up to 1080p in 60Hz, and 576p all the way up to 1080p in 50Hz. So in screen size, you can change various heights and widths. You've got 1x1, square pixels, and 4x3 for widescreen displays. You can also change the height from 4 times to 5 times. Scalars, like in most emulators, allows you to adjust pixel smoothing. So we've got HQ from 2 times to 4 times, and you can scale it double or triple. And if you like, you can have this really nifty X-ray feature. Double interpolation, from what I've noticed, sharpens the image up a little bit. Next up in scan lines, you can either have no scan lines, you can have normal ones, or you can have hybrid ones, which seem to mute the colour a little bit compared to the vibrant normal, or if you prefer, you can adjust the intensity all the way from 0 to 255. It's really all up to you. Advanced mode opens up an alternative menu which now consists of width and height, buffer mode, extra features, and colour. Width and height allows you to fine tune the screen size. You can choose various presets if you want the widescreen experience or the thin screen experience. You can change the horizontal position here. You've got some presets for height. And you can adjust the vertical position. You have no presets for both horizontal or vertical positioning. Extra features allows you to that more authentic Mega Drive experience by re-enabling the coloured borders, and enable dither blending apparently gives it a more CRT-like effect. Buffer mode controls the level of input lag versus screen tearing and speed, but I'll get more into this in a little while. And finally, colour is pretty much a simple gamma adjuster. You can have it all the way up if you like, just as an example, or you can just have it as normal. And now for audio. I'm not going to go too deep into this as I'm not much of an audiophile, so I'm not going to notice a lot of difference. So what I'll do is I'll go through some of the more simpler settings. First up, headphone settings. This is essentially what would be the SG's physical volume slider for your headphones. You got channel levels, you got channel panning. -3 decibel output cut reduces the volume when it's selected, so I tend to switch that off. Enable cartridge and CD audio. You're going to need this switched on if you want to play Mega CD games with the CD audio, and you've got the volume slider down there. You can swap left or right speakers. I'm going to admit I've not really touched the advanced filter effects as they're a bit too advanced for my liking, so I've just left them as is. And lastly, there's the system settings. You've got menu, hotkeys and controllers, startup, hardware and LED options. In menu, you've got skin, highlight style, highlight color, font, menu bounce and dim in-game menu, or rather dim gaming menu. Skin, it changes the icon, the cartridge icon in the bottom right corner there. You've got USA, Europe and Japan. I generally like to stick to Europe or USA. In fact, no, I'm just going to stick to Europe. So that's where I am. Highlight style, this is for the highlighter. You can have various different animations for it. You can have a little solid, you can have a swipe, a flash, rolling, or you can have it throbbing. I like to have it stuck to solid. Highlight colour, pretty self-explanatory. You've got all these lovely descriptions for pretty much basic colours. Why they're listed like this is beyond me. There we go. I generally like to stick to Carmine. Font, pretty self-explanatory really. You can change the lettering if you like. So I like to have a mixture of mixed case and the alternate font. You can load up your own fonts if you like, and you can load it from the SD card. Menu bounce, this pretty much gives the menu a little bouncy bounce upon entry and exit. And dim game in menu, as you can see it brightens up the background. Next up is hotkeys and controllers. With reset hotkey, you can pretty much set any combination you like to act as a soft reset. Menu hotkey, same again, except it brings up the SG menu system. Disable hotkeys, pretty much self-explanatory. You can't access the reset function or the menu until you reset the machine completely. Pass-through mode. I haven't tinkered much with this, but what I gather using the Master System games, it seems to allow controllers to be used as is, but I'll explain that later on. Right, startup options allows you to delay how long the system takes for it to boot up. You can do this for up to 10 seconds, but I generally try and keep it at about 0. You can also determine whether you want it to boot into the title sequence and then the menu or cartridge, or you can just have it booting directly straight into the menu or cartridge. Entirely up to you. Right, next up is hardware. This is where you select which specific region you want the SG to behave like. So you've got obviously USA and Japan NTSC, or you can have the PAL regions. Auto region detection, as it implies, determines whether or not the SG behaves region free. Force 3 button mode changes the 6 button pad to a 3 button mode. This is quite helpful for some games which don't quite support the 6 button pad. YM3438 busy behavior, thankfully as it explains down there, it's certain music plays slow when checked. SD card speed, you're given 3 different speed options, assuming your SD card can handle the fastest speed. And finally, you've got the debug option, which I will be honest, I haven't tinkered with at all, and I probably won't. And lastly, we have the LED options. Now this is cool. You can adjust the LED colours and brightness here. Standby colour is pretty much a simple singular colour of which you can select using the sliders down below. Center pixel, it flashes the LED the same colour as the centermost pixel on the screen. For example, a sky background will result in a blue LED, a grass foreground will result in a green one, etc. As you can see at the moment, the middle pixel is blue. And then we've got K-Pro Rainbow. Now this is really cool, and this is what I have mine usually set to. As you can imagine, as you can see, it cycles through each colour of the rainbow, which is pretty neat. You can load your own custom pattern. Adjust pattern, you can either choose whether or not to animate the pattern, or you can choose to have it really quickly like a psychedelic disco, or have it really slow. I generally like to have it at about 10 give or take, just to have it smoothly sliding along each colour. And of course you can adjust the brightness all the way up to 31, very very bright, and if you like you can just have it off completely, or you just have it like as low as possible. I generally like to keep mine to about 5, not too bright. And of course you can adjust whichever colour you want your LED to be. And yeah, that's about it guys. So now you're finally done. Don't forget to save, because you're going to want to do that. So the SG looks sexy, it certainly feels sexy, but how does it run the games, I hear you ask? Well, let's find out. So what I'm going to do to start off with is play a selection of Mega Drive games, and much like the AT Games Mega Drive, I'm going to be using the Sonic games, some PAL games, and some NTSC games. Let's get started. First up, we're going to take a look at Sonic 1. As you can see, the game runs flawlessly. That little bit of sound there, that was just due to me pausing the game. That's what would normally happen anyway. Next up is Sonic 2. As you can see, the game runs absolutely fine, no sound distortion, frame rate is perfect. Even the half-pipe stages work properly. However, playing the game in 2-player mode does present itself with a few visual problems. As you can see, there is a very clear interlacing issue when you start moving about. On the whole, Sonic 2 does work, but don't expect too much from 2-player. Okay, next we're going to be looking at Sonic 3. As you can see, again, single player, no worries. Blue sphere stage, not a problem. And thankfully, the 2-player mode is also running fine. Now it's time to look at Sonic & Knuckles, starting with the cartridge on its own first. Now, from my own previous experience with the AT Games Mega Drive, plus from what I've seen online, it's very difficult to get Sonic 3 and Knuckles running on those systems, but will the SG handle it? Let's take a look. Of course it does. I was never going to doubt it for a second. If it didn't run, I'd be like, what the F? Knuckles the Echidna in Sonic the Hedgehog 2? Not a problem! Even Blue Sphere works! And because the Sonic & Knuckles cartridge is super awesome, you can use any combination of Sonic & Knuckles and any Sonic cartridge you like, and that specific pairing will work. So let's jump into everybody's favourite Sonic spin-off game, Sonic Spinball. But how does the menu music sound? I remember it sounding like a bag of rusty chainsaws on the AT Games machine. That's fine, just as you remember it, and you know you all love it. But on the whole, gameplay, perfect. And finally, onto Sonic 3D. As before, the game presents itself perfectly well. In my AT Games review, I likened the special stage to being a deteriorated videotape. Luckily, this is not the case here. Now that we've taken a quick glimpse of what the SG can do, let's take a look at some more games. Montage starts! Alright guys, just gonna quickly break the silence for a minute to use Jungle Strike as an example of something the SG has an issue with. When any game has pixel mesh with dark colours, they'll actually start flashing when you move around. It's not noticeable on the video, but as you can clearly see, it's very clear on the TV. However, playing in 480p seems to eliminate this issue. Alright guys, so we're going to demonstrate the SG's zero delay feature versus the natural zero delay of the Mega Drive running on a CRT. And we're going to demonstrate this in both 60 and 50 Hz, starting off with 60. We're going to start them both at the same time. Here we go. And as you can see, the SG gradually starts to speed up a little bit. It's not a great difference and it doesn't really hamper your gameplay, but it's always nice to know. Now we're going to look at 50 Hz. Unfortunately, there wasn't much I can do about the flickering on the CRT.
As you can see straight away, 50Hz on the original Mega Drive is actually quicker than 50Hz on the SG. So ultimately it's up to you to decide how you want your zero delay experience.
Alright guys, so I think it's pretty fair to say that the SG can handle Mega Drive games 100%, perhaps with a couple of issues, but they don't really detract from the gameplay. However, what the SG will not play are 32X games. This is pretty much due to the video output of both the SG and the 32X being very different, and of course the differences in video connectors, so you couldn't connect them anyway. So next up, we're going to have a quick run of Master System games. But before I do that, I just want to quickly go through pass-through mode. When you have it enabled, B and C essentially act as 1 and 2, much like a Mega Drive pad would on a normal Master System. Disabling pass-through mode means that B and C still act as 1 and 2, however A also behaves as 2, and the start button is actually the pause button on the system itself. Also, with pass-through mode disabled, you'll be able to access the hotkeys as well. So there we go guys, that's Master System compatibility down to a T. Now before I move on to the next section, I just want to address something that I haven't spoken about yet, and that is Lightgun compatibility. Unfortunately, as demonstrated here by Operation Wolf, Lightguns are not compatible with the SG. There may be some technology in the future which may overcome this issue, but for the time being, if you want to play Lightgun games on the SG, you'll need to get yourself a video converter box and play it on a CRT. And just in case if you were wondering, no, the Master System games do not work with Sonic & Knuckles. So, picture the next scenario. You've got your Mega CD all hooked up to the SG, you're all excited as you haven't played it for years, you pop in your favourite game, and BAM! Yeah, you forgot to set the auto region selection. You're gonna need to enable that if your settings don't match the Mega CD's native region, in my case, PAL. Now that we've got auto region enabled, let's play that cheeky little import SEGA CD game that I've not been able to play until now. Yeah, there's a slight issue when it comes to playing import games on the Mega CD with the Mega SG. You see, while the SG can boast 100% compatibility, the Mega CD cannot. It is still region locked, regardless of whether or not you have auto region selection enabled. So if you want to play import games on your Mega CD, you still need an import cheat cartridge, much like the CDX. Maybe Analogue can develop a cartridge in the future that will bypass that, but until then, happy hunting. Now, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, but it's mainly for PAL regions. It's entirely possible to play Sonic CD at the proper speed. What it involves is switching off the auto region detection when the Mega CD boots up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Run Cartridge and reboot the Mega CD. Now remember that you need to make sure the auto region is on by default, otherwise you're going to get the region lockout screen. This trick can also be done with a modified Mega Drive as well, so if you don't have an SG, it's not going to be an issue. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go down to Settings, Hardware, and deselect Auto Region. The copyright year and version number should start flashing, and now you can just press Start. The Sega jingle should sound faster than usual, but this is what happens when you force 50 into 60 after boot up. I can't speak for all Mega CD games, but the ones that I have for the most part do run perfectly fine using this trick. There is however an issue when playing Sonic CD. It's not a major issue, but it's one that needs to be brought up anyway, and that involves the FMV. It will freeze for a few frames every half second, but I think this is a small price to pay for proper gameplay. And here we can see Sonic CD running at its proper speed versus what it would normally play as. And now on to the remainder of the Mega CD montage. Sonic, take it away.
Okay, Captain. Let's knock him out of New York.
I'm Gillian Seed. I've been assigned to Junker headquarters effective today.
Oh, you're Mr. Seed. Please forgive me. My name is Mika Slayton. I'm the administrative assistant and operator here at Junker headquarters. Very pleased to meet you. Mr. Seed?
Gillian's fine. You can call me Gillian, Mika.
Okay, Gillian. I'll open the main door and show you around headquarters.
Okay, now that we've gone through all the Mega Drive, Master System and Mega CD games, we've got one more thing left to do, and that's have a look at Ultracore. Ultracore was originally known as Hardcore and was developed by Digital Illusions in 1994 and was meant to be released on the Amiga, Mega Drive and Mega CD before it was ultimately cancelled due to the impending 32-bit era. The game was later picked up by Strictly Limited Games and was renamed from Hardcore to Ultracore, and alongside being included on the SG is also slated for release on PlayStation 4, PS Vita and Nintendo Switch. Ultracore, as you can see, is an action platformer with similar maze-like gameplay to Doom and Metroid, in which you'll need to unlock doors to progress through each level. You can definitely tell that this was originally an Amiga game with its pale colour palette. The gameplay is fast and the enemies keep you on your toes, attacking from all directions. There are plenty of secrets everywhere in this game, some obvious with their cracked walls, the others not quite so. Overall, it's a very challenging game and definitely worth a shot, especially as it's already installed on the SG. So there we go, that is the Analogue Mega SG. What do I think of it? I think it is a very sexy, serious piece of kit. Analogue have done much more with the SG than what AT games ever did in one decade. I won't deny that this is quite expensive. If you're buying this, especially from the UK, not only will you have to pay, the price of the SG, you have to pay the price for postage and shipping, and you'll also have to pay an import charge as well, which at the time of recording was £41. So you are looking at a little over 200 quid for this, which was probably roughly the same as what the Mega Drive was when it was first released. I can't remember that far back, but on the whole, I can easily recommend this if you are a die-hard Mega Drive fan, or if you like fancy jumping into it, but you don't want to take the plunge just yet, I will say that it's definitely worth saving up for, because I didn't pay for it all in one go. I did save up for it, you know, bit by bit, week by week, and I think it is 100% worth it. It does have a few issues, but you know, those can be ironed out in later firmware updates, but in the meantime they can just be ignored because they're not that bad. They can be perfectly overlooked. So yeah, this is quite a handy accompaniment, I will say, to the original Mega Drive. The Mega Drive is probably still a machine that I will still use on a regular basis. In fact, I'll probably likely use the Mega Drive on the CRT, especially where Lightgun games are concerned. And also as far as compatibility with the 32X is concerned, which is something obviously the SG cannot do just yet, but maybe sometime in the future we may get a hardware upgrade in the form of a fancy wire. But until then, you know, the Mega Drive itself, it does still have its uses. I'm not gonna abandon it just because I've got the SG. The SG is likely what I'll be using on my standard HD televisions, and you know, just in case, you know, the day ever were to come and my Mega Drive, you know, it just completely dies for one reason or another, it's nice to know that I've got something like this, you know, as a backup and as a replacement. But for the time being, it serves as an accompaniment to the Mega Drive. So I'd score this, I'd say 9 out of 10. I'll give or take. You know, it's not perfect, it probably never will be, but for what it is, for what it can do, it's an absolutely splendid machine. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. I know it was a long one, so until next time, take care of yourselves and thanks for watching. Bye bye.